Welcome to our Demonstrating Commercial Awareness webinar. As I say, the fifth one in our webinar series. And just a bit of a reminder that we are running 2 live sessions of each of the webinar topics every week. We are recording them as well, so if you know of anyone who's not able to join us in the live sessions, please refer them to our YouTube channel, SRS Recruitment and Employability Experts. There's a whole host of webinars on there, ones that we ran last year as well, looking at the different stages of the recruitment process. For each webinar, around about 45 minutes long, depending on questions and answers. And we do love it when you get involved. Please do engage with us on chat, post your comments, your questions, potentially got a couple of polls going on. We really like to hear from you. So please do let us know your thoughts as the webinar goes on. And for those of you who don't already know me, and I'm sure most of you do by now, because I'm certainly recognising some familiar names popping up there, which is fantastic. I'm Helen, University Partnerships Manager for SRS Recruitment and Employability Experts. Really enjoy running these webinars. We run lots of workshops as well, assessment centres. We're all about helping you to secure the best placements, the best graduate roles out there. So really enjoy working with lots of students and graduates from a number of universities. I always encourage people to follow us on social media to connect with us. If anyone doesn't feel comfortable posing a question during this session, please do link in with me and ask me questions there. I've been quite pleased with the level of engagement following these webinars, and a few of you have given us shout outs and also sent me some very interesting food for thought questions as well. So please do link in with me. Zoe, do you want to say hello?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Zoe. I'm the operations coordinator here at SRS, so I help to facilitate our events and deliver our marketing. I'll be in the chat box today answering any questions, so please do pop your questions and thoughts in there. And yes, as Helen says, we love to be social on social media, so please do connect and leave us your comments there as well.
Brilliant, thanks Zoe. And just a bit of a reminder, if you're comfortable with your comments being seen by everyone, it'd be great if you could set your chat to all panelists and attendees, and it means that everyone can see your questions and comments. That would be really helpful. Okay, so what are we looking at today? We'll be exploring a definition of what commercial awareness is all about and what it isn't, employer definitions and applications of this. And we'll be looking at how best to demonstrate commercial awareness during the recruitment process and top tips and techniques to develop it. So what is commercial awareness? Now, the Cambridge Business English Dictionary definition of it is the knowledge of how businesses make money, what customers want, and what problems there are in a particular area of business. At its most basic level, commercial awareness is about being able to demonstrate knowledge of organisations and their services or products. It's about processing that information. And when applying for a job, this also means knowing how your role will contribute to the operation and what that organisation is trying to achieve. At perhaps a higher level, commercial awareness is an evolving understanding of what makes organisations successful or not and the factors that can affect this. And that word evolving is key, because what makes a business successful right now might not be the case in a few years or even months. And so your commercial understanding needs to evolve and change over time. A big part of commercial awareness is also about being able to appreciate situations from a business perspective. And I'd like to draw an example from my own experience, where I used to work for the John Lewis Partnership, which is currently in the news at the moment. But we were all partners in the business, and we shared in the profits. And therefore, it was in my interest, it was in our interest as employees, to want the business to be successful, for it to make money, because we share in that profit. Now, a few years ago, the directors proposed opening branches on New Year's Day. And they outlined some very good financial reasons as to why. But partners voted against this because most of them did not want to work on New Year's Day. And so they chose to ignore the long-term commercial advantages of doing this, the fact that they'd actually come away with more profit and a bigger bonus if they'd gone ahead with doing that. And for me, that's about not choosing to ignore that commercial awareness, those financial implications. I mean, that example is a lot about finance. It kind of focuses on sales and profits. But let's not forget, commercial awareness isn't just about having financial knowledge. And it definitely goes beyond quoting facts and figures. So there are so many other factors that feed into commercial awareness, because no organisation or industry operates in its own bubble. And they are shaped by lots of overlapping elements. Now, as part of considering that wider context, what areas do you think would affect or influence an organisation? And I'm just going to ask you just to pop some thoughts into the chat. So just some examples. Anything you'd think that would affect the success of an organisation? Any external factors? Possibly any internal factors? Government policy, brilliant, yes, that's a very important one. And certainly one that's caused some big changes over the years. Staff morale, fantastic, yeah, very good internal factor there. Anyone else got any suggestions? New trends, yeah. So thinking about consumer behaviour, the move to online shopping, for example. Yeah, reputation, overall brand and profile. Performance incentives, absolutely. Good examples there. And I've just listed some here as well, quite broad overarching principles there. And so thinking about some of these factors, firstly, you've got the actual industry or the marketplace that the organisation operates in. And that could be within the private or the public sector. You also need to consider the competition and a range of other factors such as the economy, technology and the political landscape. And as some of the examples you mentioned there as well feature as part of that. Now, commercial awareness is about having a broad awareness of these different factors, but more importantly, it's also about showing how they are connected and how they impact your organisation. So some examples might be, what will be the impact of Brexit on imports and exports? What would it mean for your business if the Bank of England base rate increases? What would be the effect of cuts to public spending? Or how can your business prepare for radical changes in consumer buying? Always show how these trends and factors are relevant to your organisation. And to get you in the right mindset for this, think about some of the external factors that are influencing you and your experience at the moment. Obviously, there's the pandemic, but think of some of the other ones as well that are also influencing how you operate and how successful you are. I also wanted to now look at some examples of employer definitions and some of their applications of commercial awareness, where instead it can be called different things. So it can be referred to as business acumen, entrepreneurial spirit, customer focus, or even organisational awareness. They're some of the things that pop up in employers' values and behaviours. And you can see here that I've pulled together some examples. So Amazon, one of their key leadership behaviours is customer obsession. Leaders start with the customer and work backwards. They work vigorously to earn and keep customer trust. Although leaders pay attention to competitors, they obsess over customers. And then you've got PricewaterhouseCoopers as well, with the business acumen, where they're talking about the ability to bring business knowledge, innovation and insight to create distinctive value for clients and PricewaterhouseCoopers. You've also got the civil service in the public sector, and one of their behaviours is called seeing the big picture, which is all about understanding how your role fits with and supports organisational objectives, recognising those wider civil service priorities and ensuring work is in the national interest. So that bit we talked about earlier about commercial awareness being about how your role contributes to the overall organisation. And then you've got Sky, who also have one of their behaviours is clear direction. Everyone in the company knows what they are doing and why. Now, despite being called different things, all four of these organisations require commercial awareness. And all four definitions broadly boil down to what is a focus on the customer or the client or the national interest. And in these cases, commercial awareness translates to an awareness of customer needs and what can affect this. Now, commercial awareness continues to be very important to employers. Virtually every role requires it, because to do the job effectively, you at least need to understand how the organisation operates. Commercially astute individuals also tend to be quite proactive, anticipating problems and predicting trends that will improve overall performance. And commercial awareness is going to help you to make those sensible and well-informed decisions. It will become more important as your career progresses towards more senior roles and leadership positions. It's about appreciating how your actions at point A, B, and C can have that impact on X, Y, and Z. On a personal level, commercial awareness can also have a number of benefits. It opens your eyes to roles and areas that you wouldn't normally have considered, and it increases your professional curiosity. It will open more doors for you and make it easier for you to progress and get promoted. And recruiters certainly see those with commercial awareness as more motivated and committed. It indicates to them that you're ready to work in a business environment and that you'll be able to make informed decisions right from the start. Now, most graduate employers will assess commercial awareness in their recruitment process. And by demonstrating this well, you can actually compensate for a lack of work experience, because it can show that you are knowledgeable, that despite not having had experience in that particular sector, you have been following what's been going on, you have been reviewing key trends, you have done your research. So commercial awareness can be the difference between you getting that job offer or being rejected. So how can you demonstrate it during the recruitment process? Now, regardless of whether it's specifically mentioned or not, you should be highlighting your commercial awareness at the very beginning and throughout the recruitment process. Show an employer that you are genuinely interested in their organisation, that you understand the environment they operate in, and that your skills and experience will be useful to them. Be prepared to demonstrate your knowledge of business and key trends or players in the industry. And you might also be asked to speculate about the future or discuss a business issue that interests you. Alternatively, you might be assessed on how you apply commercial thinking to the decisions you make and the priorities you identify. Now, rather than going through the many and different stages of the recruitment process, I did just want to focus on 3 with regards to demonstrating that commercial awareness. Now, within your CV, you can highlight commercial awareness in your personal statement and within your key skills or achievements. In my experience, what is underestimated is how effectively commercial awareness can be conveyed through a cover letter, because this is the perfect opportunity in which to persuade the employer of your passion for the industry and your interest in their organisation. And as evidence of this, you should start by showing why you're specifically interested in working for them as opposed to other similar companies. What makes them stand out to you? You should include research about the company culture, their vision or aims, comparing these to your own personal values and connecting this to wider trends. Has there been any recent news or topics that you're particularly interested in and why? And provide evidence of your interest by mentioning workshops you've attended or connections that you've made that are relevant to that employer. Ultimately, you need to show what you can offer, matching your skills to what they're looking for and what they're trying to achieve. Let's have a look at a couple of examples. And I'll just give you a moment there just to read through this kind of section of a cover letter. Okay. So hopefully you've had a moment to read through that. So in this example, the candidate has at least mentioned why they want to work for the organisation, so that's good. It does, however, feel very generic, and they have included a random fact that's probably easily located on their company website. something that other candidates will also refer to. I remember screening some cover letters for candidates who had applied for a Unilever position, and literally all of them, bar a handful, had mentioned about CO2 emissions. It was like one of the key facts that was just instantly popped up on their homepage. In this example as well, they also broadly refer to their work experience and what they're interested in, but they don't show how it's going to be of benefit to the organisation. Let's have a look at a second example. And I'll just give you a couple of moments to read through this one. It's obviously a bit longer. So in this example, the candidate has gone much deeper with their research. They show an understanding of what differentiates the business from their competitors. They've also got the trouble of seeking out prior contact with the business. And this doesn't have to be in person. You could say that you follow key employees on LinkedIn and be able to comment on a particular post. You'll see that they have included the same fact as in the first example, but rather than just writing it in isolation, they have linked it to their own sustainable values as part of being in a green society at university. So they've linked it to what's important to them. They also then go on to give a specific example of commercial awareness without actually explicitly mentioning it. So they've not said, I'm very commercially aware, as you can see by this, but they've just given that subtle example. And they've shown how this will help in the role. So this is a much, much stronger cover letter in terms of demonstrating that commercial awareness. Another way in which commercial awareness is tested is through scenario-based exercises, and that could be through a group task or an individual e-tray exercise. You might be given lots of different information to consider where you have to come up with an overall solution, conclusion, or recommendation. And in these situations, it's important to have identified all the key commercial elements. So things such as the needs of the customer, any budget constraints, or specific business priorities. Think beyond short-term financial outcomes and give consideration to wider trends and long-term implications. And it might be that these wider trends might not feature in your final solution or decision, but it's good to show that you have at least an awareness of them and you've at least considered them. The interview is a perfect opportunity to answer and ask questions that showcase your commercial awareness. And some examples of the questions you could be asked, here we've got some on the screen. Please tell us about a commercial issue that caught your eye recently and explain its significance. What do you think we do well compared to our competitors? I've certainly been asked that one a few times. What do you think are the main challenges facing our business in the next 5 years? How do you keep abreast of new trends and information in this industry? What interested you about our organisation? What do you think the job will involve? And how would you deal with a customer complaint? Thinking about the fact that, again, that commercial awareness is often about the customer needs. The trick is to ensure that the knowledge you convey in your answers relates to the organisation and the role you're applying for. Now, you might have questions where you're required to give specific examples. These don't need to be major projects. You might be able to give an example of when you've restocked shelves at a certain time of the day in anticipation of customer demand, or when you've planned a trip, taking into account lots of external factors. You know, some of those more common examples can play really well to commercial awareness. Definitely use the STAR technique when you're doing this, which is mentioned in a few of our webinars. It's an excellent technique for structuring your answers when you have to give those specific examples. You also need to ask questions that demonstrate your commercial awareness. We've given some examples here again. So something like, your most recent annual report mentioned that such and such. Can you tell me more about that? I'm used to reviewing customer feedback and survey data as part of my previous role at such and such. What customer data does your business collect and how do you use it? Or something like, I've really enjoyed researching AI as part of my degree, and I read that your business is doing some exciting work in such and such. What further plans do you have in this area? Or with the recent change in policy, how will this impact your organisation? Things like that. Because remember, knowing information is not enough. You need to show how it applies and affects the organisation. And I'd now like to share a video from Tim Smith. Now, Tim Smith is a partner at an international law firm called Bryan Cave Leighton Paisner. And he shares some fantastic insights with us. And although some of his examples are based on working in law, I feel this advice is very much relevant for all sectors and for all roles. So we'll just hear from Tim now.
Hello, I'm Tim Smith. I'm a partner at Bryan Cave Leighton Paisner, and I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking to you about commercial awareness, the thing that seems to stress interviewees the most, how to demonstrate that elusive quality of commercial awareness in an interview with a law firm. I'm going to talk about three things, things which often arise in the course of an interview around commercial awareness. The first one might be called question spotting. Now, here we are in the summer of 2021, and it's fairly predictable that if you're going to be asked a question on commercial awareness at all, it could well cover the impacts of the pandemic or the impacts of Brexit. We're overloaded on those subjects for sure, but they're nevertheless easy topics to select for questions in an interview. What you can do is just to begin to think about what the impact of the pandemic and Brexit might be on the clients of the firm that you're interviewing with and the sectors that they are exposed to. And I'm not suggesting that you go in with a pre-prepared answer, but just being able to think around the issues and maybe one or two bullet points that you might use to answer questions about that level of commercial awareness will mean that you're not doing it for the first time in the pressurized situation of an interview. Secondly, what sometimes happens is you'll be invited to talk about a commercial awareness topic that you've seen in current affairs that's interested you. And that's a bit easier because it means that you can select the topic that you're going to be talking about. But just beware when selecting that topic that you're choosing something which is going to be of relevance to the law firm. So think about the sectors in which they're represented and the kind of things they want to hear about. I can remember interviewing and asking that question of a candidate who gave me a very detailed answer about a hot topic in current affairs, which was a Supreme Court judgment on divorce settlements. Now, they gave what I'm sure was a very good answer on the Supreme Court judgment, but for a law firm that didn't get involved at all in matrimonial, that was rather an opportunity lost, I felt, and left me wondering whether they'd really understood the sort of work that we did at BCLP. What you're almost certain to be asked about is commercial awareness around the lawyer and client relationship. The typical question might be, what kind of things does a client look for in its choice of law firm? Now, a lot of people will answer that question by saying that clients will select lawyers who are really expert in their area of law. They've got lots of relevant experience, and that's certainly true. But the real things that differentiate a law firm for a client are things like price competitiveness for the work which is being done, but also an awful lot around personal qualities. So the real basis on which a client will select their law firm and their lawyers are things like, do we get on with them? Do they invest time in really understanding what our business is and what our drivers are? Can we always get hold of them when we need to? Are they reliable? And are they the kind of people who can communicate what might be very complicated topics in a nice, accessible way for me? Those are the real things which are the differentiators for clients who are selecting their choice of lawyers. The main thing which I would say to you is students and interviewees often beat themselves up about commercial awareness, but the truth is that it's developed over many, many years, and nobody in an interview situation will expect an interviewee to be able to go toe-to-toe with a 20-year partner on commercial awareness, because they will all understand that this is something which comes with time. And to that end, I just wanted to say something about an initiative that BCLP has launched called the Commercial Cafe. The idea behind Commercial Cafe is we bring together a group of delegates, we introduce a couple of topics, and we talk about it, facilitated by BCLP lawyers and increasingly some lawyers from our client organisations. And we have a discussion around it. There may be a bit of feedback at the end and a sharing of some ideas, but it's a forgiving environment in which people can practice commercial awareness discussions, especially for those who may not have the opportunity to talk to family and friends about that sort of topic. It's proven to be very popular and very successful, and it's a good way of us getting closer to our clients and introducing our clients to some of the inclusivity initiatives that we sponsor. So do keep an eye out for that. At the moment, Commercial Cafe is available only to alumni from some of our inclusivity and diversity schemes. So maybe sign up for one of those or wait until we're able to broaden it out more generally to those who might be interested in taking part. But the key message I want to give you about commercial awareness is don't be too scared of it. A lot of it is common sense. There is no real mystique to it. Nobody expects you to be the finished product, but just with a little bit of preparation, you can make for a much more convincing performance when answering those kind of questions in an interview. So good luck and hope that it goes well.
Thanks very much to Tim there. And I think their Commercial Cafe initiative is a fantastic idea. Definitely something that other employers should do, or perhaps even students and graduates like yourselves could set up. And some fantastic examples there as well, which I know are grounded within the law sector, but some of what Tim was talking there was about going back to understanding the needs of the customer. You know, so Amazon mentioned about customer obsession and being able to talk about commercial awareness in that context, and what is going to differentiate your organisation, your business to that particular customer. Just wanted to reinforce some of these points by also looking at these two case studies where Sam is a new graduate and he has an interview coming up with a big accountancy firm. Ahead of the interview, Sam reads the company website. He looks at the role profile, feeling quite satisfied with his preparation. At the interview, Sam is able to demonstrate several facts about the company, such as when it was founded, how many staff members it's got, and the number of offices it has worldwide. The second case study, Kieran has applied for the same role. Ahead of her interview, she takes the time to understand the sectors the company works in, changes in legislation that have taken place, and the impact of technology on profitability. At the interview, Kieran demonstrates a plan on how she feels the company can improve their market position, suggests key trends which should be tracked, and the impact of social movements on diversity. And I think it's quite clear from this that Kieran has demonstrated a lot of commercial awareness, whereas Sam definitely hasn't. Sam's done more of a kind of memory recall, really, where he's shown that he can remember facts as opposed to actually linking this to the role, linking this to what the organisation is all about. And this particular individual, Kieran, has obviously gone into a lot of detail. And I know that Tim previously mentioned, you know, no one expects you to be the finished article and to be able to demonstrate as much commercial awareness as the person interviewing you. It's about being able to show that you can connect the dots between some of the knowledge, some of the trends that you've picked up upon. So I'm now going to hand you over to Zoe to talk about some of the opportunities to develop your commercial awareness.
Thank you, Helen. Yes, so just as Tim was saying earlier, it does take time to develop your commercial awareness, so you do need to start now. So let's look at some ways in which you can do this, starting with work experience. Please bear in mind that this can be any type of work experience or volunteering, and although it helps, it doesn't have to specifically relate to the job you're applying for. As part of any role, You can ask yourself the following questions to help develop your commercial awareness. So we've got, what do you know about the organisation? How do you meet the needs of customers or clients? How does the organisation market itself? And what challenges or opportunities are there for the organisation? So just looking at some further opportunities to develop your commercial awareness, and in this case by interacting with employers. You should take any opportunity you can to meet and interact with employers. Your university will undoubtedly organise employer-led events and careers fairs. There will also be a network of university alumni working in a range of different sectors who you can discuss hot topics with. Employers also host their own events and networking opportunities, and it's worth looking into their future events. Some even offer free online modules or short virtual internships that replicate the types of challenges they are dealing with. And another way to develop your commercial awareness is through extracurricular activities. You will all do something extracurricular, whether that's more obvious by being part of a society or simply just playing football. For all of these activities, take a step back and look at them from a commercial perspective. As part of being in a club, did you promote any events, deal with budgets, or plan rotas? Join societies at universities where you can talk about topics rather than just reading about them. There are always some societies aimed at particular sectors that often host events and talks by people in the industry. There are also hundreds of professional bodies, and although you have to pay to join some, there are a few which are free or discounted for students to join. A quick Google search on your chosen career and professional body or institute will definitely give you some options. These professional bodies are a great source of information about hot topics, vacancies, and networking opportunities. Being a member of a professional body is also a great addition to the CV. So next, how can you develop your commercial awareness of a specific employer? There are various resources you can use, such as reading their annual report, researching their website, and following them on social media. Review press articles, see what others have to say about them on Glassdoor, and from all of this, try to get a handle on what their key performance indicators or priorities are. No one will expect you to know everything, but it would be good to pick out one or two things that are particularly interesting to you and do more detailed research into them. You can test your understanding of an employer by seeing if you can describe them to someone else in terms of what they do, the environment they operate in, and the challenges and opportunities they face. There are also two very useful models that you can use to reinforce your commercial awareness. So firstly, we'll look at the SWOT analysis. I'm sure you're all familiar with the SWOT, where you can use this to better understand the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to an organisation. As part of the strengths, find out what the organisation does well and what assets they have. For weaknesses, find out what they could do better and what they lack. In terms of opportunities, identify the trends, markets, events, or behaviours they can take advantage of. How can they build on their strengths? Threats will mean looking at these same things in relation to them having a negative impact on the organisation. What threats do their weaknesses expose them to? Another model here is the PESTLE analysis, which is broken down into 6 key areas that you consider. Political factors include any local, national, or international patterns, relevant policies, and government restrictions. Some examples of economic factors include possible revenue streams and interest rates. Socio-cultural factors include thinking about things such as their public profile and consumer behaviour. Then move on to the impact of technology on business strategy and operations. Legal factors include things such as GDPR and employment laws. Finally, environmental and ethical considerations include things like climate change, carbon footprints, and what corporate social responsibility is being demonstrated. Both of these models will help to generate questions and insights that will reinforce your commercial awareness. You should consider both internal and external factors. However, take care when using them not to oversimplify some of the points. For example, although something may be seen to be an immediate threat, such as new software which will disrupt your current systems, it may also be an opportunity for the future, which makes processes more streamlined. It's back to that point about going beyond initial headlines and statements and exploring the relationship between other factors and stakeholders. So now I'll just hand back to Helen to go through some overall top tips.
Thanks very much, Zoe. So yeah, we've already given you some practical examples. We looked at cover letters and we've certainly considered some suggestions there from an employer. Let's now close on some overall top tips. Now, it is very important to cultivate that natural, that genuine interest in what is happening in the world and therefore the world of business. There are loads of very useful resources in which to do this, and we've listed some there on the screen. Although remember, don't just tell interviewers you read the Financial Times or that you watch Newsnight every night, because anyone can do that. Instead, think about how it's developed your knowledge and how it has given you a greater understanding of the sector you're going into. Don't quote facts in isolation or confuse commercial awareness with just reading the company website. It is very much about connecting the dots. Develop your commercial awareness by asking lots of questions and network with people doing the types of roles in the industry you're interested in. You should also have an opinion. So it's one thing knowing the facts about a particular topic, but having a point of view about that topic and coming to your own conclusions will really help you to stand out. And so try and expand your thinking by talking to others, even family and friends from other companies, remembering that we do live in a very connected world. And you can practice commercial awareness by researching something you love, such as the factors that are taken into consideration when buying football players for your favourite team. You know, that's a very commercial process. So well, what's involved in that? And finally, remember that commercial awareness needs to be maintained. It's something that you need to keep refreshing and updating all the time. It's something that I'm constantly working on, and in my role, I'm signed up to various blogs, various publication releases that I make a point of carving out some time each week to read and kind of keep on top of the key trends in the sector I'm working in. And I just wanted to finish on another video from an employer at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Graham Butler, who is heavily involved in recruitment and marketing. And he's, again, just going to close with his expert insights on commercial awareness.
Graham Butler here to share my top tips for demonstrating commercial awareness when applying for internships and graduate jobs. So, you have settled on a company you want to apply for. Now it is time to do that all-important research. The phrase doing your research is very generic. So let's get specific. I really recommend focus your research on the following areas. So area number one, the industry or market you are applying for, such as hospitality or transport. Who are the market leaders within this industry? Has there been any recent acquisitions or mergers? Is it a growing or declining market? Area of focus number two is the company itself. Try to think and look beyond the careers website. Have you read the company's annual report if it is available? What are the company's top priorities, for example? How does the company function, e.g. do you know their products and services and their business lines, and how do they actually generate revenue? You can then reference all this great research that you've done in both the interview or use it to ask a question at the end of the interview as well. It tends to be quite thought-provoking. And then the third stage of the research that I would suggest doing is getting even more specific. What can you find out about the department itself that you could be part of? Is it a small or large team? Is it a lot of large group-based work, or is it more individual? And how does the team fit into the wider business and ultimately add value? Now, how do you actually go about finding this out? You can ask the recruiter at an interview. Again, great question to ask at the end of the interview, but the smart thing to do is be really prepared and connect with someone in the business who's already in this position through LinkedIn. You know, try typing in the job or business title that you're applying for and the company name, for example, and that should pull up some results. And finally, being commercially aware is about understanding not only what could happen in the future within the company, but how your role as a graduate or intern could play a part and or impact this. If you are a trainee manager, for example, how can you impact cost control and revenue generation in those first 6 months? So there we have it. My top tips for demonstrating commercial awareness. Thank you and good luck with your applications.
Great. So Graham reinforcing some of our top tips there. And as always, I'd like to close the webinar on a couple of questions for you to think about going forward. Going back to my earlier point about organisations not operating in a bubble, think about you have engaged with the world outside of your university bubble. And also, what external factors affect the success of your current role, your current part-time job, for example, the club that you're in or the hobby that you do? As I say, probably the top tip that I would reinforce the most at this point is going back to that research something you love. If you're really not sure where to begin, pick a topic that really you're passionate about and then practice researching that, relating that to commercial awareness. That will help you get started. But yeah, have you any questions or common themes coming through there on the chat? Someone's just put about having a recording. Yes, this will be recorded and that will be uploaded to our YouTube channel at the end of the week. So we're on Thursday now, aren't we? So yeah, by the end of Friday, because we're running another live session tomorrow afternoon. So after that's finished, yes, we will be uploading this webinar to our YouTube channel. Yeah.
Just pop the link to our YouTube in the chat there as well if anyone wants to subscribe so they don't miss the recordings.
Brilliant.
And
any other comments from any of you?
Yeah, it's been quite quiet in the chat today. If anyone's got any questions, pop them in.
Yeah, has it been a useful session for you? Very pleased to have some employers share their insights with us on this one. I hope it's helped. When you do come out of the webinar, it will take you forward to a short survey again. Please still do it. I know you may have done it for other webinars, but we actually like to see if you found this particular webinar on commercial awareness useful. Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Hope to see you all on future sessions. And have a lovely weekend, a very hot weekend. Oh, someone has actually put just a quick question there. I can see, if I'm applying to 3 companies, should I do detailed commercial awareness research? Yes, if you want to work for three of them, yeah, I would. I mean, you're going to do more and more detailed research, probably the more you progress in the process. But going back to that cover letter and thinking about that initial application form, yeah, it's really important to have done your homework and show that research. I appreciate how time consuming it can be when you're applying for multiple jobs. But if you want those jobs, then you're going to have to put the effort in. Yeah. Can we connect with the panelists on LinkedIn? I don't see why not. I would encourage you, if you are going to connect with them, to send a personalised invite, because they won't know who you are otherwise. Something that I would always encourage, even when you're connecting with us, for example, you know, just say hi, share your insights as part of the SRS webinar. Would be great to connect with you. So yeah, please do. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to connect with you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.